Love that. Thank you for that. All right, guys, I'm going to be in shift and I am going to be speaking to you today from pages 13 through page 16. So if you have a copy of Shift at home, get it out, follow along, and let's go ahead and get started. The law of equilibrium. So at the top of the page, Gary Keller starts out by sharing people are attracted to the industry by the perceived income opportunity and driven out by the reality of the competition for it. He goes on to say, since perception tends to trail reality, and let me share my screen. Let's go to the first slide that I want to share with you, 13 through 18. Okay. He goes on to say, since the perception tends to trail reality, so if you look at the page 14, figure 7, and you follow along and you look at available income as it continues to rise and the number of agents as that continues to rise, you reach a peak right here at the top with the number of agents that are in the business. Hi, Maddie. The available income at that time is way down here. So the available income had its peak over here. It started to drop and it's significantly lower than the number of agents who are in the business at that period of time, which is down here, which is a great demonstration that the available income decreases and continues to decrease even as more and more agents are getting into the business, which if you look at our market today, sales in Coral Springs, Parkland are down 18.2% year to date. And yet the number of real estate agents that are getting into the business continues to climb. Let me put it another way. Available income is on the decrease, agents are on the increase. So are we living right now an experience that is point on exactly like figure 7 on page 14? I'll answer it for you. The answer is yes. Okay, so he goes on to share the down lag occurs because the number of agents doesn't decline until the number of transactions has already been dropping for some time. The low point of income opportunity then occurs when the most agents are chasing the least amount of money. That's the shaded area up here at the top of the graph. Now, at the bottom of the page, he goes on to say, fewer deals mean less money, and less money means lower income for everyone. And eventually it means fewer people doing business. In other words, real estate agents will start to leave the business. Real estate companies will start to close. If you own a real estate company today and you're making a profit, but you're barely making a profit and sales start to decrease, income starts to decrease, well, then that company goes from making a profit to operating at a loss. And how many months can a company operate at a loss before they go out of business? Now, not to pick on anybody and not to suggest that anybody's going out of business, I'm going to name somebody by name. If you saw the article recently that Compass had major layoffs, right? And they froze trading on Compass on the New York Stock Exchange, right? It's an indicator that we're in a shift. It's an indicator, if you're a part of that company, that they might be in trouble. Now, if you looked at their profit month over month, over the past 2 years, they've been surviving mostly by venture capital money. And at some point, what happens if the venture capital do a cash call? does the company survive? It's just a question. All right. Continuing on the bottom of the page, if you can ride out or survive this initial lag period, he's talking about this period again, this shaded area at the top. If you can ride out or survive this initial lag period, as more and more people get out of the business, you can find yourself in a less competitive market. There is now more business relative to the number of people working to get it. And he's talking about this area down here. So you look at the bottom of the graph, and now you've got available income. It starts to rise. And at this point, you've got available income is on the increase. It's rising fast. And the number of agents that are in the business is continuing to fall. You have a low point for the number of agents that are in the business here. And at the same time, you have income on the rise. That's your era of opportunity. That's when you start to see the benefit of surviving the shift. Now, how long it takes to get from survive to thrive can vary greatly from time to time and from person to person. So that time from survive to thrive in period of months and years between in the last market shift, it was 7 years. Wow. However, that doesn't mean it has to take you 7 years, because you can shift like that. He goes on to say, and this isn't all bad news, guys. This is actually good news if you're really paying attention, okay? He goes on to say, there is the market shift and its lag time, and then there is your shift and your lag time. If you don't shift fast, your lag time will parallel the market and you may be at risk. All right, bottom of the page. There is nothing that says an agent cannot thrive before the market upshifts. You could thrive right now. You don't have to wait for the market to upshift to thrive. In fact, we have known and worked with many agents who had their best years in a down market. By the way, that was me. The Dietz team had its best years between 2007 and 2010. We had to change the way we were doing things. In other words, we had to shift. And the first shift happens where? It happens here. It's mindset first. Okay, bottom of the page. Here's the truth. Not everyone will, but anyone can. Not everyone will, but anyone can. What he's saying is not everyone will thrive in a shifting market, but anyone can. Michael, talk to me.
I was having this conversation last night. I was at a event, and a lot of agents get their license and they think that this business is easy. They think it's simple, right? And then they realize that there's some real work that needs to get put in, and the average agent's out of the industry within a year, maybe 2 years at best.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you, from 2007 to 2010, the mind shift change, obviously, but what action did you take to help you be most successful? Because, you know, 7 through 10, you had the most success, but I know you had continuous success after that. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So what were some of those things that you did?
Become prospecting based.
Okay.
Prospecting becomes critically important in a shifting market. If you have a marketing-based business, if you have a business that is relying heavily on referral, and the market shifts, those incoming calls, hey, I know somebody who wants to sell their home, or I know somebody who wants to buy a home. those are going to slow down considerably, if not stop altogether. So, Michael, what we had to do is we had to get laser focused on mastering the conversation of the moment. And the conversation of the moment in that market was expired listings. So we became laser focused on mastering expired listing conversations. Because as a market begins to shift, you're going to have more and more listings that come off the market because you have real estate agents who have priced the property above the market, thinking that they were still in the market that we were in 6 months ago, and then those homes don't sell. And even if they get price reductions, they're chasing the market down. They're not reducing the price aggressively enough. All right. That would be the main thing.
Were you marketing based before that?
We weren't marketing based. I got lucky. Okay. When I got into the real estate business in 2002, I started out working on prospecting, and I just continued to be a prospecting based real estate agent. It was for sell by owners. It wasn't expired listings. And all I did was transition from for sell by owner conversations to expired listing conversations. And what we did do is whatever marketing we were doing, we cut it out completely. Because one of the things that you do in a shift, and I'm a little bit ahead of myself, and I'm going to finish today with talking about the tactics that are in this book that you should focus on. And one of them is remargin your business. And budget cutting. And for us, one of the budget cuts we made was anything we were spending on marketing went away. Okay. All right, top of page 15. He's going on and he's talking about the resilience factor. Even though you know that history repeats itself, in order to profit from it, you have to remember it. Dropping down 3 lines, if your career goes from 3 steps forward, then the market drives you 4 back, you're essentially below 0 and out of the game. If it's 3 steps forward and 3 steps back, all you've done is survive. But if you've taken 3 steps forward and the market only drives you 2 steps back, then you're just absorbing the hit. You're still in the game, and you are more than surviving. So I'm going to share the next screen with you, and let's see if I click the right button. Fantastic. So that's what you're looking at here. If you look at the example he's giving you, and this is your production, sales activity, left side, and time, bottom of the line. In this example, the agent's production doesn't change. It's the same over time. However, in a seller's market, the market is hot. They have 20% market share. Now the market shifts, yet that agent, they shift as well. They make changes in order to survive the market. They're taking 3 steps back and only 3 steps forward and only 2 steps back. So they're absorbing those hits. And when the market shifts, their market share goes from 20% to 35%. And then when the market shifts again and it continues to fall, and that particular agent is maintaining the same level of business, now they have a 50% market share. Now, what's interesting is the market share you gain in a shift, you never give back. So when now the market comes back and we're back in that seller's market where there's more homes being sold and fewer real estate agents in the business because of that lag time, and you've got 50% market share now. Well, let's just say 100 homes a year was 20% market share. In a great market, 50% market share is 150 homes sold. So you've gone from 100 homes sold to 150 homes sold simply by surviving in order to thrive. All right, bottom of page 15. The key is to be resilient and on your toes. Take the hit, but don't get knocked out. This is the survival strategy. Adapt to the realities of the new downshift market quickly, change what you need. Change what you need to change, do what you need to do, build a fortress around what you have. At the very least, this means maintaining your number of sales while the market declines, which is what I just said, okay? The net effect will actually be an increase in your market share. This is an era of opportunity for agents who understand how to survive in a shifting market. When the natural lag plays out, you will be positioned to take advantage of the inevitable rebound. You can then ride the wave of increasing transactions and available commission income by simply holding the new level of market share you've gained. If you do, your number of sales will increase dramatically and you will thrive. So figure 9 on page 16 shows in reverse what we just talked about. You've got 50% market share. That doesn't change because if you go back to the previous graph, at the end of the graph, you've got 50% market share. Now, moving forward, the market starts to come back. Now you've got a rising market, and 50% market share in a new market means 50% of more homes being sold. Therefore, you're selling more homes. And then the market continues to increase more, and now 50% market share is even more available business for you. When the next upshift happens, your market share will hold steady, but your numbers will explode. Era of opportunity. Bottom of the page, in order to survive and then thrive, you'll need to shift gears. All right, so hear that, you need to shift gears. Can you put it in another gear? We talked a couple days ago about the era of extra effort. That's what he's talking about here. Can you raise your game when it comes to the level of effort that you're putting into the game of real estate? Most people fear a shift because they don't understand the law of equilibrium. They can't shift their thinking, so they don't shift their tactics. In other words, before I shift what I do, I have to shift how I think. If you can shift gears, shifting both your thinking and your tactics, you will accelerate ahead of the rest. All right, wrapping this up. Top of page 17. So how do you shift gears? It's actually a very straightforward and pragmatic process. Our research has indicated the 12 tactics you must deploy. These issues aren't special, unique, or new. They're the basic components of any successful real estate career. And when business gets tight and they become the critical factors that determine the difference between success and failure. So here's what I would do. I would go back to table of contents and I would look at tactic number 1, get real, get right, mindset and action. Tactic number 2, remargin your business, expense management. Tactic number 3, do more with less, leverage. Tactic number 4, find the motivated, lead generation. Tactic number 5, get to the table, lead conversion. Skip number 6, go to number 7, price ahead of the market. That means when prices start to decline, you have to price where where the prices are going, not where you're currently at. Hazim, that means if the current market value of the property you're listing is $500,000, because the last home that sold last week and it sold for $500,000, you don't price at 500, you price at 480. Because the market's headed towards 480 and you price ahead of the market. Script, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, you can either chase the market or you can create the market. Tactic number 8, stand out from the competition, seller staging strategies. Number 9, create urgency, overcoming buyer reluctance. And then skip down to number 12, skip 10 and 11. And number 12 is bulletproof the transaction, issues and solutions, the gift of a shift. All right, so what is that? So what I gave you is your playbook for surviving a shift in order to thrive later. If you'll get out this book and you will read, reread, and read again those tactics that I shared with you, then you have the blueprint to survive in a shifting market so that you can thrive later. All right, talk to me. What'd you hear?
What